Making your way through work Monday takes everything you got. Then Monday night rolls around and you realize there's a shot. You're only 10 points away. All those times when your team had no fight, they're just so gosh darn frail. Then your star quarterback let another deep ball sail, and your third round pick bet on his team. Then go check out our strengths where everybody knows your game, and they listen to complaints. You wanna be where you can see our bodies bring you no shame. You wanna go where everybody knows your pain.
Welcome into another episode of Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. I am here with Mudcat Cody. What's up, dude?
Not much, my man. How are you?
You know, just reading the pregame note that I always forget how to do, dude. That's why I came in laughing. What's up, Norton?
What's going on, fellas? How you guys doing?
Doing good, man.
It's a little panic.
It's going to be all right.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. We were talking a little bit of pre-show, Norton. We were trying to figure out, like, if you were trading in Dynasty, and you're like, okay, I need a good wide receiver here. What do I do if I need a good wide receiver? Who is a top 15 guy, or what you could see as a potential top 15 guy that everybody's sleeping on? And I think we've put Pickens in the category, but I also don't think everybody's sleeping on him, especially after that video. So where does it go here?
And not a top 15 guy.
Like,
theoretically, you can get Pickens a little cheaper in this particular league. He's high priced based on who owns him. This is me. So I'm trying to put together a package of like Zay Flowers, a first, and either a second or Chig. I'm happy to move Chig with it to get myself into like a top 15 receiver. So basically, I would say it's something like, if you say Zay was a first rounder a couple months ago, you know, it's 2 first and Chig or 2 first and a second, something like that. Who's that player that buys in Dynasty right now, receiver wise?
Man, that's interesting because that's more than I'd pay for a Pickens. I'm a little bit lower on Pickens though, so
he's expensive, dude.
See, for me, that guy right there would be like Christian Watson, but
Mario mentioned that one.
See that, and that's the thing is like I think like yeah, well that's the thing. It's like I love them, but I think it's similar. I mean, it's basically they're both second year guys, second round guys that have flashed. I honestly don't know who.
Are they both kind of high risk for what I'm given, or not really?
A little bit in the sense, but see, Christian Watson for me is like way higher. Like I have him way higher in my my dynasty ranks, but yeah, I don't know. That's the thing is like I'm trying to think of where I'm trying to look at my dynasty ranks, and because I have Pickens way farther down, I probably have him honestly too low.
Part of the thing we were talking was like, where's their receiver that there's value to be had on?
Yeah. See, I still think. I kind of basically what I do is I kind of like what I'll do is look at my
Mario
rankings.
kind of tossed the idea.
The what? Is Cody freezing or am I?
I think it's Cody.
I think
Cody, try once more.
Yep. So Mario tossed the idea of DK. I'm such a value oriented guy that I'll struggle to pay. I'll struggle to pay for hype.
Cody.
I'll struggle to pay for hype. That's the right way to say it. So it needs to be somebody either properly valued or undervalued.
That's fair. That's fair.
I think though I will end or at least
segue us.
Well, before we segue, I think there's gonna come a time, Cody, where you're just gonna have to go for gold. And if that leaves you with 0 picks,
well, I think you're
gold.
right. But I've done that. I mean, I've still got a lot of picks, but in Dad Bod League. But I mean, in the last couple of months, I've traded for Amon-Ra St. Brown and AJ Brown. I think that's kind of going for it.
Not because you didn't have to spend anything for Amon-Ra. You got him for free.
Yeah, but I traded for 2 number 1 wide receivers. Oh, Robbie's gonna love it. But you're right. That's what I'm trying to do. I mean, I'm shoving my cards in and dinking because my team's aging pretty quickly. I need to make a run out of here.
I do think DK is one of the guys that I feel
I like
is
that one.
of value in Dynasty. And maybe even in redraft this season.
Yeah, it's the first year that I've kind of been in on DK's price. I've always been a Lockett guy.
I think it's the same for me too.
Yeah, like I've always been Lockett, and I mean, I still like Lockett's value for sure. I actually just like all the value of Seattle guys, honestly. But that's the thing is like DK, I have him like pretty much right in line with consensus. So to me, after DK is where the drop off is in redraft this year. I have him at 15, and I think he's 15 somewhere around there. But then after that, what's that?
I bumped him up quite a bit in redraft.
No, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he has a potential any season to just go off. Yep. So, yeah, I mean,
especially in the TD category.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. Yep. That's the thing.
Robbie owns him. I need to go full fleece.
You are wrong, dude. All right, so let's get into this because we got some news that we need to hit. We got the AFC South, so we're talking the Jags, Colts, Texans. What's the last one here?
Titans.
Yeah.
The divisions have been kicking my butt this season, but we'll kick off with going to some news. And I'm going to hit the way that we're going to hit the news so we can kind of get through it fast is I'm going to bounce between you two. So Cooper Kupp dealing with a hamstring injury. Cody, is this worrisome or what?
It actually is for me, but partially that's a personal statement. Reason being is I've been somebody all in on Cooper Kupp. You know, I've been throwing out last season and sticking to like, hey, Cooper Kupp is right there with JJ as one of the, you know, the two guys, the two alpha dogs at the receiver position. And so being all in on Kupp compared to some people, it worries me.
Yeah, it freaks me out. Kenneth Walker is also week to week with a groin injury. Norton, does this scare you at all? I know you're already low on him this season, right?
Yeah, I was already lower on him once they drafted Charbonnet, and then I think I had him like 16 or 17, which is a little bit below consensus. I was really high on him until they got Charbonnet, and then that happened. Then now he's dealing with a groin injury. They said he's week to week. Who knows with that kind of stuff? Like those, any kind of like groin, hamstring, calf, that kind of stuff, dude. They can just pop up. It can just reoccur. Yeah, exactly. So it definitely scares me. I put out a thing. I moved him down, I think 6 spots in my rankings today. I moved him down, I think, to 22. So like I have him in that range of like Alexander Madison. It's like the group of like Madison, Akers,
Connor, maybe.
Connor. Yeah, I think I have him 1 spot ahead of Connor or 1 spot behind, like one right there. All those kind of guys that are like volume guys with question marks. I think he's better than those guys just from a talent standpoint, but I mean, we're dealing with a guy who's now injured and has, workload concerns. So yeah, it worries me.
Charbonnet, as you mentioned, also out. He may have a torn rotator cuff, but it's definitely a shoulder injury. Cody, what do you feel about this backfield in general?
Yeah, here's the hard part. I agree with everything.
Macintosh time?
Well, I agree with everything Norton said on Walker. I have him at 23 right now. But if Charbonnet ends up this is significant, even with the Kenneth Walker injury, I think ultimately it's a boost to Ken Walker if Charbonnet's, really hurt. I think one of these guys is going to figure it out by week 1. So I think the reality is that, somebody's going to be okay in terms of those 2 guys. But I think it's potentially a big positive for Kenneth Walker dynasty owners for this year.
That is such an interesting spin on this, dude.
Yeah, it's a negative for Walker and potentially a positive. I mean, the truth is we don't know yet.
Well, I know they drafted a guy in the first round and then got a guy, was it the 6th round? And he ended up being the starter for years. Are we seeing the repeat with Kenny McIntosh?
Talking about Chris Carson and
Rashad
Penny.
And Rashad Penny. Yeah.
You know, as I say, you know, Pete Carroll, he don't care.
With 2 guys, I can't see it. With 2 guys there, I just can't see it.
I know.
He don't care.
I've been taking some flyers on McIntosh. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm the same.
I added him in some leagues, took him in some late best balls lately, so we'll see.
This one pains me, not only just thinking about it, but for the player. Tim Patrick out for the season after tearing his Achilles. It's hard not to think that this might be it for his career. Sad. What do you make of this for the Denver Broncos wide receiver group? Is this a bump to Dulcich? Does this make you want in on Mims? I'll go to you, Norton.
I think biggest bump to Mims, just from a standpoint of easier path. Yeah, easier path to getting on the field, running routes, that kind of thing. I was already a little bit higher on Mims and then consensus just in redraft in general. So it makes me feel better about that. I hate it for Patrick though. I mean, dude was good 2 years ago, and then suffered a major injury last year. Just got back, another major injury. Like you said, it could be a career. Yeah, Dulcich. I mean, obviously, I think it helps Dulcich a bit as well. Just from he feels more like a clear-cut third than before.
Number 2. Move him on up to number 2.
Could be. I like Dulcich. I moved him up. I moved honestly Dulcich up 2 spots today in my rank and moved him up to 11. So I'm high on him as well. But yeah, I think the biggest bump is for Mims, and then a slight bump up for Dulcich, and then maybe even a slight bump up for Sutton, considering like him and Patrick are kind of similar body type players. Big body kind of guys, and could be running similar routes and getting similar targets and things like that. So it might clear up some more playing time for him too. I mean, we expected him to be 2 essentially, but still.
Can I add something real quick?
Yeah, I can see it in your eyes. I can see it in your eyes from here.
I hope the best for Tim Patrick.
Judy love?
Nope. I'm just glad not to hear about Tim Patrick again for the 5th year in a row. Every offseason, he gets hype, and every offseason, here we go again. I'm glad not to hear about it.
Does he get hyped that much?
I feel like he gets talked about every offseason like this could be the year. It's not.
I have never felt that way. I've actually thought this was the first
last year.
This year. I think it's been this year.
No.
I think last year was
last year.
I was gonna say last year was the biggest hype, I think, on Patrick. I think last year was his highest ADP simply because he did well the year before, and the whole Russ coming over and that kind of stuff. So they were like, and it was Sutton's wasn't it Sutton's first year back from injury too, and then so yeah. So I mean, Patrick was getting a little bit of hype coming on here, but still, like, I mean, this was Sutton's next year off injury and Patrick's first year. I mean, he was getting some hype though.
I did hype
so we're clear.
Him.
The breakout of Tim Patrick, the good year, is like 700 yards. Like, he's never done it. It's not like he had like this good year that we were all hyped for. Like,
you're cold.
It's just I am, but it's just been every year, and he's never done it. He's never done it.
What?
Guy's like 24 hours removed from Achilles. He's just catching strays.
Stoneheart.
I hope he heals up. I hope he proves me wrong. But I'm happy.
I hope he heals up and then has 1,500 yards.
I'd love it for him, because then I want to talk about him. But until he breaks 700, I don't care to.
Jeez. All right, so moving on. Even though we're going to be moving on with Mudcat the Stoneheart, we have.
Let's talk more injuries.
Yeah. Cody's gonna curse himself from this exact clip right there. He's gonna stand up and his knees gonna pop like.
Oh man,
I'm so superstitious that I now feel that because I just said that about you, Cody, that it's actually gonna happen to me.
Yep. You got a haircut, so now you're a little off weight.
No haircut, just
that's gonna do it.
Yeah, no haircut. Just finally doing my hair, so I don't look like a bum. All right, we gotta guess that player. So let's get to it. Norton, drum roll on. Hopefully this works properly, right?
Let's see it. Let's make it happen.
We're good
There we
so
go.
far.
We're gonna see.
The first time that Norton and I had to do this without Robbie, we saw 2 pictures when we pulled it.
I watched it.
All right.
All right.
There we're rolling. Let's see if it all. So player A, wide receiver with mid-second round draft capital, 26 years old. Last year, 14.2 points per game, was wide receiver 18. Last year's target share, 23.2%, which was wide receiver 24. Air yard share was 28.4%, 32nd best in the league. Targets per route run, 25.7%, 23rd best in the league. Yards per route run was 2.14, 22nd best in the league.
Oh, yeah. We're cruising now. I thought for sure the picture was
I was hoping not. Third round draft capital, late third round draft capital, 24 years old.
This is player B now.
Yep. Player B had 9.7 points per game, wide receiver 49.
Rough. Uh-oh.
The target share was 19.1%, wide receiver 39. But here's where it gets better. Air yards share, 30%, 27th best, so better than player A in air yards share. Right around the same targets per route run as player A, with 24.3%, wide receiver 27. And the yards per route run was not very good. Wide receiver 44, 1.77. So
I think I know who it is, but
you think so?
I'll let you
a
ask
little
the question.
stumped.
I was going to say, who do you prefer redraft dynasty as well? And then which players do you think they are? Are we getting some comments?
Yeah, we got one.
Yeah.
Is player A Christian Kirk?
I should clarify. These are not the same team, correct? Because I know that
they're not same. They're not same team.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, because the other one was, but I was starting to think, what team could this be? Yeah.
Well, I had it in my mind. I was convinced about it.
Ooh.
Kirk's interesting, but I would think the target share would be a little higher for Kirk. Well, maybe not.
All right. So let me. I'll answer your question. I think this is supposed to make me want player B, but I still think I want player A in redraft. Personally.
Okay.
I agree.
You want player A in redraft? What about dynasty?
In dynasty, those would be. I would be yards.
Basically, production was better with player A.
Player B's metrics
underlying metrics were close for both of them.
Yeah, I think I stay with dynasty. I'd probably stay with player A, but okay. I do still have a guess on player B, who I thought it was, but I may be way off now.
And to answer the question there, I can see the argument for player B in dynasty. Main reason for saying that is when you have a 26-year-old, you're kind of entering that prime. And when we see wide receiver 18, without knowing his players, like what is their ceiling at this point? So that's where I think you can make the argument that, hey, maybe B has the upside, but I don't think the metrics scream it, at least the ones you shared,
Right.
Right.
I thought player B was Alec Pierce.
It's an interesting guess, and you're going with the theme of the AFC South. I like it.
I remember you saying that you try to stick on brand.
Well, same team. Could A be Pittman? I don't know that
I thought so. He said
though.
They weren't the same team, but that's exactly what I thought, Cody. I thought it was Pittman and Pierce.
I think he's lower than 18 though.
And I think he's 25, not 26. But I do remember Norton also saying this is at the start of the season.
Oh, Mario. Oh, it's not the same team?
Not the same team.
I was gonna go T-Mac and Dotson. I was back on the same team.
I will say another hint is that they are both AFC South receivers. Sticking with the theme for tonight.
Oh yeah, so which I feel like he does that. So I did know that the whole time he was saying this. Or I had that clue. Oh man, I don't have any guess right now, but I feel like Albert saying player A is Christian Kirk
and it makes sense with the South. So
and the points per game because he finished like 12 in total points. So then let's say, Cody,
Let's go
we have
Kirk.
agreed
Yeah.
that we're going to go with
Yep.
Kirk for player A. For player B, I think he already told us no on Alec Pierce.
It is
Maybe he
not
didn't.
Alec Pierce. And
Okay.
I will say
Obviously,
player A is Christian Kirk. You can click that button and pop that bad boy. Pop that bad boy
Albert
up.
crushed that, man.
Albert killing it.
All right, so
oh,
player
man.
B.
Wide receiver 49, 24 years old. So let's say they're entering their third year, just a hypothetical. Who would be somebody?
And it's not obviously not the Jags, as they're not the same team. So it's got to be
Colts.
either Colts, Titans,
Texans.
Texans.
It's
Player B is Nico
isn't it?
Collins.
Yeah.
It's
Are
Nico
we
Collins.
right?
It is,
Yeah.
it's Nico Collins. It is Nico Collins.
We should have
yeah.
gotten
Aw,
that sooner.
man.
Honestly, I feel like we should have gotten
Yeah,
that sooner.
We
We've
talked
talked
about
Nico
this
a
on
lot.
pre-show. We
Yeah.
said
That's
is a
so
second.
funny.
I think a second is where his value is currently in Dynasty. We're hyping him up in Dynasty.
I
Dude.
changed my mind though. I want Nico in Dynasty.
Dude, it's interesting though, because I was putting I feel like the underlying metrics like are definitely still in favor of
about the
Christian
same.
Kirk, but they're not
Yeah.
that much considering the ADP
Everywhere.
difference. Like
Well,
It's-
and
I-
and your
gonna
target
have to
share
start-
and yards per route run. I mean, those are kind of going to be a. Go ahead. I guess I paraphrased him, wasn't I?
you froze a little bit. Keep going. Keep going.
Well, I was going to say your yards per route run and your target share. I mean, to some degree, those are going to kind of tie together. So when we see those two be really poor, it makes to me some sense a little bit. So when you actually look at like the air yards and the targets per route, I mean, it's not bad. It's definitely not bad for wide receiver 49.
yeah, no, for sure. And that's the thing is like I think Kirk's going like wide receiver 20 something and Nico's like wide receiver 50 something. So it's like
Yep.
It's interesting.
Yeah. You need to if it's not a giveaway, put that put the ADPs on there because I think that would have been really interesting to see.
That's why I thought about doing that, putting the ADPs just to show the difference.
I am getting our next slide ready here, boys. Give me one
That's fun.
second.
Norton. Can you give us another one?
Yeah, you got one on the top of your head right now.
I know,
Ready to
right?
go.
I wish I did. I wish I did.
All right, got to get the slideshow back up. Sorry, everyone. I'm freezing. We're there. Don't worry.
There it is.
We're
baby.
good. There we go. All right, so we are clearly talking about the AFC South today. We're gonna kick it off with good old Sunshine. Can he make the jump to join the elite fantasy QBs this season? We will start with you, Cody.
So my answer is no to catapulting into the elite status. And I know Robbie and I have chatted this offseason, and he's got TLaw making that leap. And his case is, increase in yards, increase in this, increase in that. And it's got to be a significant jump for him to get there when you start looking at the actual math on it. It's 20% here, 25% here. It's not like, hey, he needs 200 more yards and 3 more touchdowns. It's more significant than that for him to get into that tier. And so I think if you think TLaw is going to make that jump, which I'm not there yet, I think he will at some point. But I think you have got to be a big believer in Calvin Ridley because I don't think the weapons justify him making that leap personally. But if somebody's really in on Calvin Ridley, I think that is a strong, indictment for you to feel that way about TLaw.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Like, I don't think so either. Earlier in the offseason, we had a dynasty startup that Mario and Rob were into, and same thing. We talked about it. I wasn't there at the turn, and I was debating him, but like I was just like, I can't get myself to pull the trigger. Like I don't think he's gonna make the leap this year. And if he doesn't make the leap this year, I don't see his price going up. Like I think people are already expecting him to make the leap more often than not. The way his price is, he's a late first round kind of pick in a super flex dynasty startup. So like, I don't see him. And even if he makes the leap a little bit, I don't see his value going up much more than like maybe a few picks. But like, is he going to jump any of those top 6, barring like top 6 like elite QBs who are just like next level already, and most of them pretty young? Like I can't see him really doing that. Like for for Dynasty, I mean, I think he's a fine guy. I think he's going to.
What a fine guy.
Right, he's all right. But for redraft, I'm pretty out for the most part. I mean, his price, I'm closer to moving him down like below Deshaun Watson. I honestly think Deshaun Watson has just as much, if not more, upside than Trevor Lawrence, and he goes like 30, 40 picks later. So I think he's much closer to Watson than he is Justin Herbert, and he's going much closer to Herbert in ADP than Watson. So,
I think with this, you guys know where my answer is. It's obviously aligned with both of you. I'm the lowest out of everybody on him at 12, and I do feel like that's a little too low, and something I want to adjust before the season. But it's just it's tough, man. The other thing that I've noticed and realized is I am not drafting TLaw, and it's not only because my ranking, but like. You're talking about Justin Herbert, who goes 12 spots ahead. So taking this a little bit differently from the approach you just said, Norton, about waiting for Deshaun. Justin Herbert goes 12 spots ahead. I feel like that there's so much more upside to be had there. And maybe it's closer than I realized. Maybe TLaw has that upside and I'm just ignoring it. But yeah, I tend to just rather go with J Herb.
On that Herbert and J Herb or TLaw conversation, I think what's interesting there is I talked about I struggle to see TLaw make the leap in all categories that's necessary for him to do that. Whereas in the case of Herbert, all he's got to do is throw more touchdowns. Everything.
All he's got to do is throw more touchdowns.
Yeah.
TLaw, I need touchdowns. I need more yards. I need more
the pass attempts.
Look at this for him to
look at this division. What like how I get it. Offenses are just different in general, but like it's hard for me to believe that this division is going to have him throwing near the amount that Justin Herbert's going to be throwing, which is probably close to 700.
Well, that's the thing is like
league leading or close to it.
Yeah, I think with Herbert, like you see, I mean, Kellen Moore going over there, I'm expecting them to open it up more. Herbert's already kind of done it too. Like 2 years ago, he took a step back last year, but like we've seen him, and then he's rushed for more. I'm pretty sure than Lawrence. And then on top of all that, I mean, I still think, Herbert's weapons are aging compared to Lawrence's, but I still think his.
Is that what Robbie means? He's a strange bird, like kind of.
But yeah, I mean, give me Keenan, Mike Williams, QJ, Eckler, Everett over the Jags group. Still, I mean, I do think the Jags group is fine, but like still Herbert's weapons are better, and I think a better coordinator, better division, faster pace offense, likely higher scoring offense. Like it's just all around better to me, and he's more proven. So I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people really, really love Lawrence, and I think the price is expectant of him to make that leap, and I just can't pay that until he does it. And that's usually how I am, though. A lot of times with like QBs who aren't running, like I have to see them do it like at the elite level, because I'm already a little bit lower on them in general. So if they don't run, they have to throw at an elite level. And if they haven't done that yet, I'm not going to just bet on them doing that.
Right.
Except for Jordan Love, right? You're all in on Jordan Love.
Oh, now. For sure.
They have to be if you love Christian Watson. But I do want to talk about another guy here, which is Travis Etienne. Norton, in the early season, we had this we took a halt. We almost said we got to pump the brakes on this. We have hated and talked about Etienne almost what felt like every episode. It really wasn't, but it felt like a lot. But I feel like I haven't got to do some hate towards my favorite player last year, Etienne, for a while. So, Norton, is he a draft target or a fade for you this season?
Much more of a fade. Like you mentioned, we loved him last year, but I was also under the assumption that he was going to be heavily involved as a pass catcher.
Criminal.
Well, that's the thing is like I don't think the process was wrong for us to believe that, because he had a great target share in college with the QB he was about to be playing with unproven wide receiver and pass catching talent, and TLaw the previous year checked down at the highest rate in the NFL. I mean, everything.
That was the big one. That was the selling point.
It all lined up, and then all of a sudden. No, it doesn't happen. And that's
the only argument was and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It was J-Rob. That was the argument, right? Like maybe Etienne against his whole entire game, the whole package. Right. J-Rob was the argument, and he wasn't even in the picture.
Exactly.
Really, the fear was he wouldn't get the rushing work, and he'd only get the receiving work.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I almost wish he did, dude.
And then, that's what we kept saying. Like I kept saying that last year too. We were hyping that, saying like he could still get like even if he doesn't, even if J-Rob takes a ton of work, ETN can get a Alvin Kamara like, pass work. But then he turned out, dude, I think, it's funny. I was reading some people talking about it. he's still on TLaw. But I was reading some people talk about it. I know it was Dwayne McFarland crediting someone else talking about the actual film on ETN, and basically like saying that ETN in college was just such an elite athlete that like he was able to just catch passes and take off and just roast people nonstop. Whereas in the NFL, like he's not going to be able to do quite the same thing. And then that kind of played out as we saw it last year. Because like I'm pretty sure he had the second lowest PFF rating and receiving grade among all running backs with at least 250 routes run. I mean, that's horrible. And he only had an 8% target share, 45 targets, 35 catches, despite playing like all the time, having the role to himself pretty much the whole year. Like, I just cannot see like that number going up when they add Calvin Ridley now and they add Tank Bigsby, who's better than what they had as a backup last year. Like, he also and
they kept Hasty, and they have the running back from the Browns.
Yeah, Dearness. Yeah, and it's like he also was terrible at converting inside the 23% success rate compared to league average 40%. Now that can be a little bit kind of not sticky from year to year in the sense like you could almost think of it maybe as a bounce back situation. But if that continues to be a bad point, like if it's 2 years in a row where he's not converting well, I don't see them just sticking with it. You know what I mean? Like they have other guys now that can put in those situations. So if he does lose that and he's still not a good pass catcher, like I'm out pretty much more often than not. It's just getting harder with the running back landscape.
The last thing you said is where I want to segue. I've talked quite a bit this offseason in the last couple of weeks.
Such a pause, dude.
I
thought you froze.
One for dramatic effect. The truth is, I thought I froze, and it got myself. Because Mario, you were stopped like.
Yeah,
like, the way you were looking at me, I thought it was frozen. Yeah. So here's where, and we're the 3 low guys on ETN, but here's where I'm starting to rise, and I think we're going too far with the hate. I've talked some in the recent weeks of where I kind of want to have one of these stud running backs because the RB2s are starting to scare me a lot. We look at the J.K. Dobbins situation. We look at the Breece Hall situation. We look at Najee and his lack of effectiveness. And I start looking at these running backs from, 10, 11, 12 through 16. They've all got big blemishes. But at the end of the day, Travis Etienne might be the safest play because the reality is he's still a guy that got 220 carries and 35 catches last year, averaged 5.1 yards per carry and 9 yards of reception. I know the PFF grade on the receptions wasn't that great, but 9 yards of reception for a running back is productivity out of that position. And so I think the hate's going too far when we look at the guys around him and their blemishes. I'm not sure ETN's is any bigger.
Well, let me do this then, because now, let me say one thing before I do the would you rather. I did see recently Travis Etienne talked about the running back situation and how we have to elevate our game and how we have to change our game. And I was like, okay, you say this, and then you left us with only 35 receptions last year, dude. But I'm sure he wanted more. He was also, I heard, not the most comfortable catching passes. And it was something strange about that going into the pros. But with Cody, what you're saying, sure, but here I'm going to give you the RBs around him. Ready for it? Would you rather have him or Najee Harris?
Yes. They're very close. Keep in mind, I'm not high on him, but I think his blemishes are lesser than Najee's. Najee has not put together any productivity in the NFL.
Yeah, as far as efficiency, work. He gets
but I mean,
almost 80 more carries than him.
Maybe, but Etienne had 255 touches last year. That number can't scare you that much.
Well, I would say Najee gets about 100 more.
That may be true, but like, I don't know. It's really close. I guess I'd probably go Najee, but it's really close.
I do have Najee.
ETN or Joe Mixon.
Mixon.
ETN.
Mixon for me too.
For me, it's Mixon hands down. Like
Guaranteed
Mixon,
work.
Mixon is the better Mixon. I was talking to someone about this today. Mixon is the better version of Najee. Like they're both inefficient. They're both like talented running backs that have been inefficient in their NFL careers. They both get a ton of work. They both are involved in the pass game. But the thing is, Mixon gets more involved in the pass game and on a far better offense. I don't understand. I always think about it and I'm like, why is Najee going ahead of Mixon? It makes zero sense to me. They're the same player, but Mixon's in the better offense and did better last year and gets more pass work.
I don't know this offhand, but I do feel like Najee has also shredded Mixon in total touches, correct? Or am I wrong in that?
No.
No?
Mixon was like top 5 or 6 in touches.
I think he had 70 targets last year.
73 targets, 60 receptions, almost like 250. And not only that, I think
was
he
like
has
350 plus touches or 380 or something crazy. I don't remember what it was.
It was a little less last year because they had Warren come in a little bit.
I was gonna say also that's the other thing. Warren to me is more of a competition to steal work than anyone like Chase Brown or Travion Williams is hurt now too, if he's hurt bad or not. But like
maybe
I don't know.
But
it's always
neither of them like that good. I think you got to think there's a mild threat to both, right? Not big. But like
for sure. I agree. They're both like to me. They're both like inefficient guys that like. The threat is that if they stay inefficient, if the team does be like, okay, well, we're going to turn to someone else, then they really bottom out.
Yeah,
I'm going to keep us going because I have 3 more names. Just yes or no. Aaron Jones or ETN?
Aaron Jones.
Kenneth Walker or ETN?
ETN easy.
ETN.
ETN because of I have them right next to each other. I don't even know if it's because of the injury. Alexander Madison or ETN?
That's a good one because I'm high on Madison.
I have ETN.
It's probably ETN. I don't think I trust Madison
to
to be an effective running back.
So Najee is the only RB out of that list that goes ahead of ETN.
Right.
The only one.
And that's the thing to me is that I feel a little bit more comfortable now taking ETN for a lot of the reasons that Cody mentioned about the being scared of the other like running backs in the range. The only thing is that Mixon still goes behind him. And for me, Mixon is a tier ahead of like I have him a full tier ahead. And I do have Najee like in the same tier as Mixon. I literally have Mixon 12, Najee 13 because they're like the last 2 like volume guys of that like nature. And then like a teardrop, and then I think ETN right after that. So like I do have him like fairly close in that area, but I do have like those 2 ahead, like significant, like I guess significantly in the sense of a tier.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. He's really expensive, and it's hard to see the pads. It's funny that the 3 of us and Cody, you're taking a little bit of a different approach, but we all are relatively feeling the same.
We're the 3 low guys. Yeah. I just think he's rising with. There's no bad news for him, and a lot of bad news for everybody around him.
Right. It's crazy. That's a good one too.
This goes to somewhere that we're also pretty low on, and we're gonna get some hate for this. Christian Kirk or Calvin Ridley. Sorry. Yeah. How does Ridley coming in? Not only how does it affect the rest of these guys, but what are your expectations? I actually did just recently bump up Ridley quite a bit, and it's probably just because of the training camp videos. I have him at wide receiver 21, so I don't feel like I'm getting too crazy. But where do we sit at what he's doing to the rest of this offense? I'll go to you, Cody.
Yeah, I think it's a little hit to Kirk's 130 some targets last year. So I think you got to think there's a little bit of a hit to Kirk there. But I think Kirk's still really interesting. Depending where he ultimately gets drafted, I could see Kirk continuing to drop a little bit as we get more and more Ridley hype. And I think there's a scenario where Kirk is falling into that high wide receiver 3 area by draft time. And despite Ridley's addition, I love Kirk there. I think he's a beautiful flex play if you can end up nabbing him there come draft season. In terms of Ridley, the camp stuff looks great, and I've got to own that. But the truth is, I've had big worries with every player that has taken time off football. I think it tends to not go very well at all. And it's just so glaring to me. I'm struggling to get past it. The camp stuff is probably going to get to me, and maybe I'll make a little adjustment, but I don't think I see myself going to 21. I think even though there's big upside, there's also too much risk for me to jump on that at that price.
Yeah, Gibbs on that one.
I think all three of us are Gibbs.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think I'm pretty much right in line with what Cody's talking about here. I have Kirk as like a wide receiver 3 flex kind of guy, and I think like all his underlying metrics that I kind of showed earlier kind of support that. Like what he is, he kind of volumed his way to it last year, being a wide receiver 2, and I think the addition of Ridley drops him to a wide receiver 3. So I don't mind taking Kirk as a wide receiver 3 flex kind of guy. I'm lower than consensus technically on all of these pass catchers though, because the thing is to me is that again I'm lower on TLaw. So people are expecting TLaw to take the leap, so they're expecting the entire offense to take another leap. And you're already talking about guys coming off of career years. Like literally every single pass catcher is coming off a career year, and now you add a guy in Calvin Ridley, who again I'm worried with the same reasons Cody's worried, but at the same time he is a talented player. So if he steps in and draws a high target share, that is at the detriment of these other guys who are now going at career high ADPs coming off of career years. So like I hate the fact that I'm like fading this entire team because I really like a lot of the players. Evan Ingram's been one of my favorite tight ends in the NFL for years. And it's just the prices on them have all skyrocketed. I will move Ridley up, same kind of thing. I have him a little bit lower. I will probably move him up a few spots, but I can't get to him. And like, he's going right now, like his ADP is like early mid round 3, wide receiver 14, 15, 16, that range. I'm like, dude, that's just way. Yeah. He's going consistently and he does not make it out of round 3 almost in any draft I've seen lately.
That is.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but man, there's big risk there.
100%. Like you can get so many. I mean, DK. Sometimes he goes ahead of DK. Sometimes he goes ahead of
Olave area. Yeah.
Yep. I've seen him go ahead of Olave in drafts, and like I'm clear cut Olave. But he usually goes like it's usually in that T Higgins. It's like T Higgins, Ridley, Devontae Smith.
T above all, right?
I do have him above all of them in that group. But yeah, he goes in that same group, and I have him the lowest of that group.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, like I have Ridley the lowest of that entire group, so I'm pretty much not getting much Ridley. He is like a FOMO guy of mine though, in a way, because if he does hit, and then I'm going to be outside looking in because I don't have.
Here's where you could have peace. Even if he hits, it's not like anybody's getting a good deal on him.
No, there's no value there. He would have to crush to get value there. Like crush, like a huge hit. We're talking, what was it, 2020 that he finished as I think wide receiver 5?
5, yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know about points per game. I think it was close though. I think points per game wasn't bad. He was wide receiver 5 overall, 2020. Yeah, he would have to crush it to get there. Man, he's just so sad.
Yes,
we do got to keep it moving. We are running a little low on time. What a cool picture. So let's talk Anthony Richardson. Can he be a QB? We got to talk Colts. Man, I'm just really jumping in here. Just jumping in, not even warming it up. Let's talk the Colts a little bit. It's going to be a little bit of a rough season. A lot of transitions, very young offense. Can Anthony Richardson finish as a QB1, top 12 as a rookie? Norton, we definitely talked about this early in the season. I know you have a quick spiel that you want to kind of say because you definitely believe this. You think he can. I mean, look at your ranking. It's wide receiver or QB10, right?
100%. Like I said, last year, I've said it before, last year, QB10 was Daniel Jones. Go look at Daniel Jones' stat line and tell me that Anthony Richardson can't put up that same stat line and then some, especially as a rusher. He may not get to 3,000 as a passer. He might be more like 2,500. But if he gives me 800 to 1,000 on the ground, and we got a guy designing the offense that just designed one for Jalen Hurts, so he obviously has intentions of using the guy's legs. Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't. To me, Steichen wouldn't have drafted Richardson if he wasn't going to use him on the ground. Like, he used Jalen Hurts on the ground. They wouldn't have drafted him with this kind of draft capital if they weren't going to use that threat. He's the most athletic quarterback we've ever seen. The dude's going to run a ton, especially in his rookie year. And I just think if he runs for 800 plus, he's like a locked in top 12 guy.
Yeah. He loves it. You love some Russian QBs.
Oh, dude, I love every year. It's like you draft that latest like rushing QB and just profit. It's like gold every single year in single QB, especially in
It
single
is, but not necessarily for rookies. It's not. I don't think it carries over the same sort of. Again, like the last time we saw a rookie QB do this, it was Cam Newton. As far as with his legs.
The thing is though, look at even the rookie QBs that ran when they became the starter. Look from that point forward, and they were all top 10, top 12 guys. Like Jalen Hurts when he took over. I don't think Fields was. Fields didn't run a lot though that year, like that first stretch. But even
Hurts
like
is a good example though.
Hurts, when Hurts took over those final 4 games or whatever, just unreal. And then when Lamar took over halfway through the season or like last 6 games or whatever, unreal. Kyler,
and you have
rookie,
stated that you have him as a top 12 points per game sort of method here, and that makes sense because you're going to bench him if he's not starting.
Right, especially in one QB. I mean, you can just draft and stream any like good matchup early on in the season if it's a one QB league. But in two QB superflex leagues, it does get a little bit more dicey because it's harder to fill that spot if he doesn't start right away. I do think he is I have thought the whole time he's going to start right away just from draft capital. And again, I mean, you see it today, yesterday, he's getting all the first team reps already. Like, I think he's going to start right away.
Yeah. Cody, do you have a different thought on A-Rich as a QB1?
Not a different thought. Part of my ranking has been a little nerfed with the fact that I wasn't sure if he was going to start from week 1, but I'm starting to feel all of that, Norton. I know you felt it all off season, but I'm coming around to that idea. You probably won't see me slide him to 10, but I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up somewhere in the 12 to 15 range for me once I ultimately okay, this guy's starting week 1. Because you're right, the rushing's, do we think he's going to throw for 3K? Maybe not. Do we think he's going to throw 20 touchdowns? Maybe not. But even if he doesn't, there's an easy path to top 15 production at the quarterback position with what he's going to do with his legs.
For sure. Alex needs to change that rank, I'll tell you.
One of the things, one of the freak athlete from Willie.
For sure, Willie.
Willie says top 15.
That a boy.
I think Willie also mentioned something here. When he's talking about JT. Whoop. I know the question before is, are we looking for a bounce back year? I'm going to actually ask a different question because I don't necessarily want to hear that right now. Is the current state of things. How are you feeling about this situation for Jonathan Taylor in general? I'll start with you, Cody. So I'm going to ask you guys to go a little off script here.
Yeah. Super nervous.
He's lagging so bad.
Was that delayed again?
It was super delayed. Oh, yeah, it's rough. Look at that. Look at that face. We'll start with you, Norton. I know we're going to end up hearing him come in, but he may be fully frozen right now.
It's possible, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not as worried about him holding out. I'm never usually too worried about the guys holding out as other people are. But I do think he clearly is upset with this right now. I was already lower on JT as is. But so this doesn't help me get any more of him. But I will say though, if people get really scared off, if he starts dipping to the 3rd round in best balls, because he's already mostly a 2nd rounder, like mid to early 2nd rounder. If he does somehow dip to 3rd round, people getting scared, I will take him in the 3rd round. So I will buy the dip on that, but because I'm not quite as worried about him actually sitting out when it comes down to it.
I always take a different approach on this.
I know.
Constantly, it makes me worried. I don't like them missing practice. I don't like him not being there with his rookie quarterback. Like my RB4 rank is already going to change. I haven't fixed it yet. It's not going to go crazy yet, but every week that passes, it's going to get lower and lower for me. I think it's a risk that we have no clue if it pays off or not. There's nothing that necessarily says this player will play or won't play. And I'm not saying anything bad about you if he gets to the 3rd round and you're taking him because there's value there. Obviously that becomes a discount. But the media, nobody really knows what happens next. And for that reason, I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm not rolling the dice here.
I can understand that.
That's tough. That's tough to just be on at 0 if you take him in third.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that for sure. The thing is, though, like, how many guys actually hold out when it comes down to it? Every year we get all these guys talking about they're going to hold out this, and that. How many of them actually do it? Le'Veon Bell did.
I'd rather ask the question is how many of them get hurt from threatening a holding out or holding out for a little bit, because like you get these guys that aren't going to be running or moving and stuff, and man, the soft tissue issues can happen from this.
Oh, for sure. I agree for sure. I mean, and obviously my philosophy when it comes to like injuries, I don't ever like to try to predict them. I mean, but I do agree that it gives you an increase risk.
Yeah,
when you sit out like that and you're not out there like prepping. Although someone could,
it's just a high risk, high reward play.
Yeah, someone could also kind of say though there's risk in the sense if he's out there because he can get hurt during practice, he can get hurt during these training drills and things like that. The same as we've seen Tim Patrick and any other guy. So like, I don't know. I mean, I think ultimately that when it comes down to it, like people get really scared off of these situations. We saw it with Saquon. Everyone was, dude, his ADP dropped. I got him in the third round in a couple, like, and now he's shooting back up to a 1-2 turn guy. So like, that's the thing is like,
I ain't touching Josh Jacobs either.
Well, that's the thing is you're not touching that dude. He's falling to the mid to late thirds, and
he's gonna end up in the 5th like last year.
Dude, he might, and I'm gonna be just taking it up because like I just don't think when it comes down to it, these guys are going to hold out, and it's never worked out for any of them of hold out. I mean, and there's only been a couple that have even officially like finally hold out. Like they all end up reporting and playing, and even if they don't want to, they're like, oh, I'll begrudgingly do it. So I don't know.
Well, that is something that we need to take offline, and man, I sound like I'm at work. That we need to really figure out like what the average for these running backs that have threatened it. I know we could probably go year by year and remember the names of those guys or find the news, but I think that's something that would be an interesting, like on average, a player that sits out part of training camp holding out finishes an RB 15 plus or something like that. I would love to know those numbers. Cody, did you have anything to add before we move to the pass catchers on this offense for JT?
Yeah, I guess just a couple of things. I agree with Norton on the sitting out doesn't do these players any favors. And when I talk sitting out, I'm talking more specifically not just camp. You know, some of that I'm sure is a mixed bag, but it's not going to do them. I just don't think, same thing I said with Ridley. I don't think taking time off football is good for their careers. I don't think it's good for their success. And so, you know, I just think it's the wrong way to go if you're trying to make money in the NFL, ultimately. I'm buying Jonathan Taylor right now. Whether he ends up a Colt or somebody else, he is a guy who is a career 5 yards a carry, career double-digit touchdowns when he's healthy. Still fairly young. He's had heavy workload in college and the NFL, but I'm buying in Dynasty right now for anybody that's panicking. I traded for him 3 or 4 days ago.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'm not at this, you know, we'll know more before the season, but I'm not going to be scared to draft him almost anywhere he lands. I think he's a super talented running back.
So I want to switch to the pass catchers here.
No, thank you. That's my answer.
Do you prefer Michael Pittman or any other pass catcher at ADP on this offense? All relatively cheap. Cody already answered at no, thank you. Norton, did you have anything to add?
I'm apparently high on Pittman looking at the rankings.
I would say I'm technically
you are the high guy, Mr. No, thank you. His ADP is, I think, Alex is 14. His ADP, I think, is 36.
I was going to say,
price on Pittman.
This was a question about JT.
Yeah, I don't think he holds quite the same value, but I don't think it dips much. Like I'm with Cody, where I don't think it should dip that much because either he's one of the most talented. Yeah. So
I traded Jacobs for him as the trade I made.
Yeah, I like that. Similar worries.
Similar situation, younger
Jacobs
and less
more.
work.
Yep, exactly. No, but with Pittman, I'm technically above ADP, which is weird because I haven't really been drafting much of him. So it's kind of a weird thing for me. I'm torn on it because I think Pittman's a good receiver. He got a ton of targets last year. I think targets come down, but at the same time, I think the target share can stay up because I've been reading a lot of stuff about how RPO offenses vary. Like that's why we saw with the Eagles last year, the top 2-3 guys, it's just like a massive concentration of targets because the RPO is such a quick read scheme that a lot of it is like, you're checking on that first read so much and they get hyper targeted, which makes me more encouraged about like guys like Pittman, DJ Moore, AJ Brown, guys all with running quarterbacks because they're going to get massive target shares. I think it's just a matter of how much raw targets they get. Now the thing with him is I like him and I think the cost is fine. I'm more fading than not. I'd rather wait and take like Pierce or Downs just like super cheap and hope one of them hits or something. Like that's what I've been mostly doing because obviously I'm in on Pitt or Anthony Richardson. So like in best balls, a lot of what I've been doing is like I'll take Richardson and then like a lot of times unless Pittman slides a little bit, I'll take Downs or Pierce like at value late just to have a stack option. And that's for best balls, obviously. In redraft, I'm not probably going to be able to take either of them when it comes down to it. I may stash Pierce on the bench. I think Downs won't get drafted in most leagues unless it's a really deep league. So that's where I'm at.
I'm pretty much out on all of these guys. It's hard for me to really I love Downs in Dynasty, and I did like Pittman a lot, and I can see this all happening. But I think the tough part about any of these receivers is watching a Rich coming on a rookie year. It's gonna be a little bit of a rough season. Mm-hmm. Again, though, in Dynasty, I feel a little bit different about all of them. I think some of them are even buys. Downs is the most expensive probably in Dynasty, where Michael Pittman might be a great buy right now. But pressed for time, we must continue. We got to go to the Titans, which there ain't a whole lot to talk about on this squad, but nope. We will talk about their newest addition is DeAndre Hopkins. Cody, what are you doing now that he is a Tennessee Titan as far as rank, as far as what you're expecting out of him this season?
Yeah. I think D-Hop's going to be pretty much fine. I think quarterback play, now I'm not saying Tannehill's never been able to support a quarterback because, Tannehill's a serviceable quarterback in the NFL. This isn't meant to be Tannehill hate. But at the same time, I don't know that I see him putting forward a top 12 receiver this year. So I just don't see wide receiver 1. Definitely see him as a wide receiver 2, and I think there's some fluidity to his ranking in that wide receiver 2 area. But it's a hit to all the Burks and Chig's love. No doubt about it.
Norton, do you feel different? Yeah.
It's sad. Yeah. I mean,
more Burks than Chig. Chig only moved a couple spots. Burks, it hurts.
Same.
I disagree, but go ahead.
See, I moved. The thing is though, like, it'll be interesting because we'll get to those two here in a minute. Right. So it's, for Hopkins, I have him same kind of thought as Cody. Like he's wide receiver 20 for me right now. I think it's like right around where he's going. I think he's fine value. I think he's still going to be targeted pretty heavily. I think Tannehill is better than people give credit for. I think he's been more efficient as a passer than people give credit for, especially when Derrick Henry's healthy. So I think the team itself is going to be better than people are expecting too, and the offense as a whole. So yeah, I think Hopkins is just fine.
I just don't understand why there's such a difference between Hopkins and Devontae Adams right now. That's the truth. Like you could say Hopkins missed the end of 2021, got PEDs in 2022, so he missed part of it. And then, still played pretty solid the second half of the season last year. I get there being a discrepancy. I just don't know why it's so wide and why we're looking at such a margin, especially now, right? We have Jimmy G throwing the ball versus Ryan Tannehill. To me, those are the same dudes. One's Italian, one's not. So like I don't get the difference here. I have DeAndre Hopkins at 17, and I still think that might be a value. It's scary, but I'm going to kind of transition into this. I don't believe, because what do we want to know, like, what's this do to Chig? What's this do to Burks? I actually do think it hurts Chig more. I think this is great for Burks. Burks was already going as what, wide receiver 35? Was it any higher than that? Am I crazy about that?
That sounds ballpark right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about right.
I feel like that should still be the price. It doesn't, I guess the upside, it hurts the upside, but like the price wise, if I'm getting him even later now in redraft, I think there's a spot that makes me feel like, you know what? I think Burks is probably going to do better against the second cornerback on the team. I think that Burks is going to do better without. They're going to have to focus so much on DeAndre and so much on Derrick Henry. Who's left there?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. I hear what you're saying, but if a guy is wide receiver 30 something and back, the only reason you're really drafting them is for upside. And so if we say the upside's capped because we have a quarterback who hasn't thrown for 4,000 yards since we were all in high school and a wide receiver one superstar on the team, the math isn't great there. And so if you're saying the upside's gone, why do I want Treylon Burks? Why do I want the week in and week out wide receiver 35? You can keep it.
See, I have kind of a different thought on it. I think the consistency is the part that's really the problem that comes into with Burks for me, because I think Burks is a playmaker type of player, and I think he can have like spike week games, whereas I don't think his target volume will be consistent, so I don't think the floor is the same. Like that's kind of how I see it with him. I do agree, like it does obviously cap upside too, just in the sense of volume, but like I still think the offense getting better helps, like pushes everyone's upside technically. So I usually see like the volume as more of the floor, whereas the touchdown and the spike week efficiency is more of the upside. So for me, like I didn't move either of them down too much. I think it hurts Chig more than, or I mean, I think it hurts Burks more than Chig in the sense of
hurt more.
See, but I think so in a volume standpoint, but I think the fact that Chig is playing tight end and eligible at tight end, the threshold is way different. So like, it's hard to move him down more. Like when you look at the guys that he's going around, I mean,
tight end 11 or 12 though.
Yeah, he's moved down to 14 now. He's moved down to 14
now. Yeah.
He's moved down to 14 in ADP. I have him at I moved him down from 11 to 13. He's going behind Dulcich, behind Kincaid, behind Schultz now. So he's going behind those guys. I still have him ahead of Kincaid personally, because I don't think the thing with me between those two is like when I'm looking at both of those, Chig had unreal metrics last year. Obviously, Kincaid was in college and he was a rookie, but you're stepping into situations too, like where they have similar like worries in the sense of like Diggs being an alpha, Hopkins being an alpha, and so I know everyone loves Kincaid. I just don't understand. Like he's again, and it's still a rookie tight end for me. Like I can't get there to where people are putting them. So the thing is, like after 14 though, the next one in ADP is 15. Like two guys that are 15, 16 are Tyler Higbee and Cole Kmet.
Yeah, even that like volume is nice with Higbee, and I hate Higbee.
I don't mind Higbee at 15. I do have Higbee at 15 myself, but like I still have to have Chig above Higbee. So like I think Chig has much more breakout potential upside than what Higbee has. So like when I'm taking a guy right there.
And that's the other thing though. So like consider that, and then we are gonna have to save the Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry talks for later. I think the Derrick Henry thing is something that we've explored and we'll definitely keep exploring throughout the offseason. Ryan Tannehill is pretty much you both agree he's a sneaky late round QB. But it's funny that DHOP gets discounted, probably due to age, probably due to inefficiency, but so does everybody else. So it doesn't necessarily kind of make too much sense to me that we're. It
does when the offense is going to throw for 3,600 yards.
Yeah, and that's all. Where's that all going? Where's 3,600 going?
Well, I mean, if D-Hop is getting 1,200 of it, 1,100 of it, whatever that number is, there's always going to be the group of receivers that make up another 500 to 1,000. So we're already up at 2,000. So now you're starting to split 1,500 yards over Chig and
that's fine.
That's not good math.
Okay, but what's good math is you're saying a guy that's getting 1,100 or 1,200 is going to finish as wide receiver 22. That's the question I'm asking.
We did this talk last offseason because like I said something about this kind of the same thing. And like somebody was like, yeah, 1,000-yard wide receiver. Like there's like 20,000-yard wide receivers. That's a little bit dramatic, but like 1,000 yards isn't a crazy number for a wide receiver anymore.
No, but you said 11, 12. I mean, that means he would have to get 3 touchdowns to probably end up not higher than your 22. No?
And maybe that means I need a bit of a D-hop. Maybe it means I need a bit of a D-hop.
That's the question I'm asking is like, shouldn't he go up a little bit?
Like, how does D-hop go down and go? Well, because like there was always only going to be 3,600 yards of passing, 35, 38. Like, I don't think D-hop adds 1,000 yards of passing. So as soon as D-hop comes in and takes 1,000 yards, it's got to come off of somebody. He doesn't add 1,000 yards of passing to this offense.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I just don't. So
that's how they can all be down. They're all pulling
because
from each other from the same size pie.
Yeah, they're all pulling from the same size pie, but I guess what I'm saying is you're expecting D-Hop to bring enough to minimize Treylon Burks' 35-36 wide receiver finish, but not enough to kind of have him at his normal. I'm not saying top 12. That's not what I'm arguing for, but I'm saying like a higher than 22 potential.
I guess, and I'd have to look at the numbers, but if I look and I've like, okay, I've got wide receiver 22, I think I have Burks wide receiver 38 maybe, and Chig at tight end 13 or 14. Like that's enough production in the passing wise for what this offense is going to put out in my mind. When I say a wide receiver 2, a wide receiver 3, and a borderline tight end 1, that's not terrible productivity out of an offense that's low passing volume, I don't think. No, like an offense like this doesn't have to turn in a wide receiver 1. Or 2 wide receiver 2s. You know what I mean? Like there's plenty of teams that don't turn in 2 wide receiver 2s.
No, I don't think that's really what I'm getting at either. I just feel like I feel like D-Hop. Nothing has. I don't remember seeing anything that has shown regression. I guess use how you feel about.
You want them both? I guess you're thinking they're both a boost.
No, I just said I haven't moved Treylon Burks, but that's just an opinion sort of thing. But the question I feel like I'm having is like, we're seeing D-Hop go so far down, considering where he plays on a game basis. Like, I mean, the dude per game puts up, I think, somewhere between 14 to 16 points per game. I get it. Different offense. He comes to a different offense, but the dude has done this his entire career. He's done it with Matt Schaub. He's done it with what's your boy? Big old dump truck. I can't remember his.
Who's that?
Jeff Driscoll. He's done it with TJ Yates. Like he's done it with everyone. And I get it. He was a different wide receiver then. But I haven't seen him necessarily go to some old ass wide receiver now. Like he still plays hard. Like I don't get it. I don't get it. Where he had 3 touchdowns last year. And I think that's probably part of what's going into this. In 12 games, he had 3.
If you, I guess, and here's maybe where I was missing you a little bit. If you want to say I need to have D-Hop a little higher, I can live with that.
That's what I'm saying. That's okay. Exactly what I'm saying.
Because like, how are you sliding them all down, or how are you knocking them all down? Yeah,
I just feel like if you're, the thing I feel is like it's weird that they're all getting discounted, right? Like I get what you're saying. If there's 3,500 yards to go around, it's 3,500 yards. Fine, say that. But I think D-Hop's not going to be like, oh, there's only a little bit of pie for me. No, he's going to get his slice. That's
and my only then follow what you might be okay with. My only follow up would be if I'm raising D-Hop, those other guys are coming down more.
That's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. He froze.
It's obviously not significant. Like, yeah. It's obviously not, it's obviously not super significant, the impact, but like it makes even less the case of like, hey, Chig's going to break out and Burks can be a wide receiver 3. If D-Hop in this kind of offense, if D-Hop is going to be a wide receiver 12 to 18, it ain't going to happen for either of them.
Yeah. And I do. Does Henry take a hit of these touches because of D-Hop? I think possibly. Maybe slightly. Slightly, what did you guys mention earlier? The succession plan? No, that was actually that was Wyatt.
You talking about old no knees?
Is this a way to kind of get there? Like, are they kind of, I don't know, transitioning new offense? Let's keep it moving though. I'm sorry to hold us up on the D-Hop talk. I do think you guys are a little bit too low.
I'll look at it. I'll give you that.
The 22 just is.
He's 2 spots higher than.
Thank you, Norton. He's a wide receiver 2 in 10-man leagues.
Clear cut.
There's
the funny part too is Mario, like in that section of wide receivers, the fact that we're 5 spots difference could literally be almost nothing statistically.
You're
like that's so tight.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do think I don't know. The 16 other wide receivers that are in front of him, I could think of them off. I can't name them. I don't know if I can actually put him ahead of those guys. So you might be, I may be stuck at 17.
That's the thing too for me is like because I wanted to move him up a little bit too in a sense, but I'm looking at like who I have in those spots because I'm like, I know one of the ones that we have difference obviously is DJ Moore, so I have DJ Moore ahead of him and you don't. I know that offhand, yeah. And then Amari Cooper is one of them for me too. I have Amari Cooper ahead, and I don't feel comfortable.
I think that one's actually fair, though.
Yeah, I don't think and then I don't know what the third one is because I know we both have Watson ahead, so I know Watson is one of them, but like who I have at 16, and then but I know there's one other guy there. I can't remember offhand who it is, but like every time I look at it, I'm like, I still want to have that guy ahead. And it's like, but they're all in the same tier. I do have them all in the same tier, so it's like
I would guess Drake London, but I don't think you have Drake London.
No, I have London one spot behind. I know that because I know I have him 21.
21. We'll have to talk about that. Texans, is CJ Stroud fantasy viable as a rookie? So I'm going to start this with you, Norton, then we'll get to Cody. Are you in on CJ Stroud in redraft?
Redraft, not really.
Okay.
Super flex and best ball, yes. But when it comes to like 12 team, 1 QB, your standard redraft, 10 team, 1 QB, those kind of things that you see the average person playing in, weekly streamer for me. I don't think he runs enough to be, more than that necessarily as a rookie. I like the player. I think he could have a fine career and things like that. But as a rookie, nothing more than a weekly streamer in those kind of leagues.
Agreed. Yeah, agree on everything. My rookie rankings on quarterbacks need a bit of an adjustment because I'm coming around. I mean, obviously Bryce Young's going to start. I'm coming around on Richardson starting, and I'm also coming around on CJ Stroud starting, very close to the whole season. So he's due for a little slide up for me. But to be honest, even if he's starting, even if he's starting 17 games, he's a mid-20s guy to me. Yeah. So I'm just not going to be there.
Yeah, I don't think the offense is quite here for CJ Stroud to kind of show out. We are going to get to a guy that I have been raising, but it's hard to really take Stroud when you have other QBs in that area or way even within like the first 3 or 4 spots, like a Derek Carr, or there's a couple of other guys that I'd rather just put my faith in and have much stronger.
Even a guy like Tannehill for fantasy. I'll take Tannehill, I think.
No, don't you dare say that.
Because they're rushing.
Don't you dare say that after our talk. Don't you dare.
They're rushing. Yeah, the 6 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, 6 rushing touchdowns every year, no matter what. It's the Tannehill
money in the bank, baby.
Money in the bank. But the question we do have is about this Texans backfield. We know our buddy Robbie Bobby loves him some Dameon Pierce. How do you guys take this backfield? And we'll start with you, Cody. Oh, we'll start with you, Norton. I'm sorry.
Whatever, dude.
I think Pierce is like fine as a running back too. I think he's fairly priced. I think he's going as RB22 right now. I am like slightly ahead of that. I think he showed last year that he's a good running back, runs hard, makes people miss, can run over people. He's a good player. It seems like at least. Downside though for him is that he doesn't get many targets and receptions. He's also playing on an offense that is likely to be bottom 3rd, maybe bottom 5 in the NFL, honestly, in terms of yards and points. And there's also a risk in the sense that it's a new regime. They didn't draft this guy. So, as good as he kind of looked last year on film and what people saw, there's always a chance when you have a new regime. They brought in Devin Singletary. So, they brought in Singletary, right? So they didn't draft Dameon Pierce. There's always a chance that this could be more of a split than people want it to be. He's going, like I said, as a running back too, because I think people are expecting volume. And he's right in that same, he's another guy that's right in that range of the Cam Akers, Alexander Madison, all those guys, James Connors, where you don't love necessarily the situation, but you feel like they're going to get the volume. Back end RB2 types. So yeah, I think it's fine. I don't think there's a ton of upside unless he starts getting pass work, because I don't see the offense being top 5, top 10, where he's going to get a ton of touchdowns or things like that. And I think there's more risk than there is reward with him.
Cody, how do you feel?
I love the last thing you said, Norton. I tend to think his price is probably fair too. I have him a little below where his price tag is, but it's an okay price. The big issue I have is Devin Singletary. And I know Devin Singletary is not a popular name. It's not a player anybody likes. But the reality is he's been a productive NFL running back in a backup role. And I say backup because the Bills just did weird stuff. I guess he might have technically been the starter, but you never get starter carries. You got starter work when you're a Buffalo Bill at running back.
Yeah.
And so, he's a guy who's put up between 150 and 190 carries all 4 years, and he's averaged about 40 receptions a year over the last 3 years. And I don't know that it looks all that different this year. Even if I say he only gets 150 carries and 30 catches, that's probably enough to keep Dame Pierce from being an RB2. And I think Devin Singletary has been productive enough that he warrants that 150 to 180 touches.
I think, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to almost play devil's advocate to both of you. I think there is a time that we're looking at in May next year of 2024, and we're like, and we honestly thought Devin Singletary was going to take work from this guy. I think that is a thing that could be said. Yeah. Do I believe it's in the range of outcomes? Like Dameon Pierce showed a lot of upside last season. He showed a lot of talent. He ran hard. He ran real hard. But you're going against a lot of history here, right? Like it's not that often that a 4th round pick can stay relevant. And as far as a running back, it's not that often that a new regime wouldn't kind of draft somebody the following year. Like there's a lot of things. Obviously, I'm talking in a combination of redraft and dynasty here. It's not that often that a running back that doesn't catch passes can necessarily have an impact on fantasy anymore. So if we do believe, and I am with you guys, that Dingleberry, that Dingletary,
that's a new nickname.
That's it. Yep.
Dingleberry, Singletary can take work in the passing game, then it makes it really hard to make a case for Dameon Pierce. The whole thing that we've been kind of preaching, and it's been kind of consistent through almost all of us, is we want a running back that's going to catch passes. And unless they're getting 300 carries, that's the only way. And I don't know if Dameon could get 300 carries.
Real quick on the Singletary thing, because I think you're right. It feels like a guy who could just disappear, but he is the quietest 1,000 yards a year guy there is. He's got 4,100 yards in his 4 years with the Bills, where it feels like they never really used him. So he's averaged over 1,000 total yards a year.
I feel like that what you just said there should scare the shit out of me about my love for James Cook this season.
Yeah. Because 1,000 yards can look ugly in Buffalo if you don't get touchdowns.
Yeah. Dude.
That's what it is.
Do I got to go adjust my ranks trade? Are there any pass catchers that we're kind of in on this Texans team? We are showing here Dalton Schultz and Nico Collins. I am the second high guy on Nico Collins. It feels good. It feels great.
We'll start with you, Cody. I'll probably slide mine up a little. Yeah, come
meet me out over here.
Here's the funny part. I kind of like Mechie and Nico both just on the surface as players. I think this offense is going to be catastrophic. And so
Mechie has some nice videos coming out right now, and I can't help myself.
And Nico's got the size you love to see, and some of Nico's metrics. Well, you showed us, Norton. Some of that stuff looks all right. It looks like, hey, this is a guy who could kind of shape into something with adequate quarterback play. So they're both players that I like the talent. I just think this offense is going to hold them back. But I don't mind flyers on either of them way late in drafts.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I like Mechie late in drafts as well. Nico, obviously, I mentioned that I already like. And like I said, like I'm always for the guys that like their ADP. Like right now, his ADP is wide receiver 55. I'm probably gonna end up moving him up in my ranks a little bit too. And yeah, but he's been someone like, especially if I do take CJ Stroud late as like a third QB in best ball, like Nico Collins is always a guy I've been looking at getting. And again, his, like I said, target per out run and air yard share were both like top 30 numbers, both 27th, and he's going to wide receiver 55. He also like, I wish I had this number, but there was a number like when you compared his like yards per out run, his like target shares and those kind of things compared to his teammates, like it was like dominating them. Like his stuff was like, because they were all getting dragged down by the offense in general. but his were like way, way ahead of everyone else. So like to me, he's the clear guy. I know there was a recent report like something about there's no clear number one. Like to me, it's Nico. Honestly, even Woods like late. I mean, I don't think there's much of any upside with Woods at this point, unfortunately. And then Schultz, I think his price is fine. Like he's going at like tight end 14 right now, tight end 13. I think he moved up over Chig, like I said before, but he should see right around 20% target share like he usually does. So yeah, I mean, I think he's a fine play too.
All right, so I think I just want to go and do this once more here. There's a possibility that CJ Stroud shocks us all, and he comes out and he actually shows that he's a pretty solid QB. And I think there is a chip on his shoulder from the draft, from pre-draft, about everybody that was knocking him, and that this possibility can happen. There's also that possibility of Nico Collins. Everything you just said, Norton, what if this is a breakout year? I mean, it's his third year in the league, right? We're so spoiled with wide receivers coming in as rookies dominating over the past 4 or 5 years that maybe it did take Nico Collins to year 30 for the breakout. Like there's that possibility. I just think there's a chance where we look at this offense and we go, well, look at that. And it's going to be something that we talk about. It's a different way of this, but what if it's similar to Seattle, right? Nobody in hell was expecting Seattle to be good.
Right.
And there's this, I feel like we look at this team and we go, these guys aren't very, very much weapons. Nico Collins and John Mechie, if we're talking about how good they are at the end of the season, we're all going to be laughing and be like, who the hell thought this was coming? Because John Mechie is such an unknown, and he's coming back from battling cancer. And Nico Collins is a guy that went late in the NFL draft. I think it was 4th or 5th from Michigan. So like, but how cool would that be if these are the guys to watch? I think Nico is a very interesting play. All of these guys are so cheap. Even Damian Pierce at RB22, like there's upside to be had. And it was even for Schultz, who I think is just a guy. But
yeah.
And last thing I wanted to say about Nico, and I meant to say this from at the top, the OC has him watching Julio Jones film. Like that's the sort of stats I need. That's the sort of advanced metrics that I like to read, baby. I'm like, oh, baby Julio.
Yeah, I thought they were going to have
a lot of nicknames tonight. We got Dingleberry, we got Baby Julio.
I think you got to hit the Twitter or the X streets or whatever it is. And you got to claim copyright Dingletary at this point.
Yeah, so you whoop my ass, dude.
He might. Dude. You never know. I don't know how active he is on the streets, but
on the X streets. All right, guys, it's been real. You any last thoughts?
No, I don't think so.
No, I think we hit it pretty good.
Very zen, Cody.
Yeah.
All right, boys. For Mudcat, for Norton, peace out.
See ya.
Thank you for watching our episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
If you aren't already following us on Twitter, check us out at DadBodFS.
We'll be posting all of our best clips and videos to all of our social media: TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. You can find us on there at DadBod Fantasy Squad.
Lastly, if you'd rather just listen, we make sure we post our audio of each episode on all the major streaming platforms. Stick with us all season long so together we can count our trophies and not our calories.